if you don't do this every single day, or you don't have the ability to slow down and stop and do this every day, you're going to be a weak and ineffective Christian. And this is no shade to anybody, or this is not to create some kind of spiritual hierarchy or system, but it is a basic principle that if you don't know how to do this, if you can't slow down your life and do this, then you're not going to be effective as a believer. And what is this thing that I'm talking about? You have to be able to slow down and enter into the gates of the Lord with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. If you don't have the ability to slow your life down and to be able to acknowledge God, then what happens is you do not actually pull upon the resources of heaven to be able to execute and prosecute your day. Most people, when they run into problems, challenges, trials, limitations, they come to a point, they're like, God, why is this happening? Not knowing that engaging the presence of God sustains the force field around your life. If you ever read Psalm 91, you'll understand the practical aspect of the force field of the presence of God that shields you from certain things. And so it's only when we run into those things that we otherwise thought were too crazy for God to allow to happen in our lives that we begin to say, God, where are you? Not wondering or asking the question, or wondering if God has asked the question, where are we, or where have we been? Have we been in his presence? If you don't have the ability to slow down and to say, God, I thank you, and to really meditate and think about the things that you're thankful for, what it means is that there's a place where idolatry has already gripped you. Now, most of the times we don't realize that idolatry can be anything. It can be how much you prioritize your job because you feel like your life is so dependent on it. You feel like you don't have the ability to slow down. We'll make all these excuses about, I gotta work, how else am I gonna eat, all these different kind of things, not knowing if you've ever gone through a season of not being able to have a door open for you, then you'll realize that your job is not what you depend on. Or even if you begin to realize that it's your health that God has preserved that allows you to show up for your job every single day. And when your health is compromised, you'll realize that it's more than just your job that sustains and keeps you. And so you have to realize that idolatry comes in many forms, and the inability to slow down and acknowledge God is actually idolatry, but it also is impeding your ability to engage and access all of the strength and the presence and the power of the presence of God. And so if you can't slow down and transit the presence of God every morning, enter into his gates with thanksgiving, into his courts with praise, it means you are up against a war within the soul. And this war is something that is not necessarily an active war because you're already losing the battle. Why? Because idolatry has already subdued you. Your mind is convinced. You're already subjected to strongholds. You're already in a place where you've agreed, you've submitted to the fact that this job, man, I have to wake up, I have to do whatever responsibility or demand gets you out of bed without you being able to have the opportunity to slow down and to acknowledge God, right? I get it. Maybe some days you wake up late or whatever the case may be, but if you don't have the opportunity to wake up and to be still and to acknowledge his presence and to thank him, and then to, from thanking him sincerely, transition into praising him for who he is, because through what he's done, we see who he is. And then through who he is, we can begin to worship him in spirit and in truth. And so you have to come to a point where you begin to acknowledge God and you slow down, you remove dependency from all of the other things in our lives that we feel like life depends on. You remove that and say, no, I make a statement. I come to a different conclusion about what my life depends on. And when you come to that point, you'll begin to see things shift in your life because the power of God can emanate through you, and you won't be dictated and powerless by situations and circumstances that happen around you, because there's something else that's regulating your speed and pace of movement. It is the impetus to honor God, to acknowledge him, and to worship him. And your life begins to move at the pace of the glory and the grace of God, not at the pace of the demands of life. If you don't want your life to be moved at the pace of the demands of life, you have to be moved by the commands of God. And so I want to encourage you to begin to shift by slowing down and transiting the presence of God every day, every single morning. Father, I thank you. I thank you for giving me strength to wake up. I thank you that I still have a job. I thank you that you've given me the wisdom to still be able to be effective on my job. I thank you for the family you've given me. And you begin to thank him, and you begin to ruminate on the odds your life would be at if some of the blessings you were thanking him for weren't there. Let the passion for which you thank God, or by which you thank God, let that passion be intensified. When you consider the pain you would have if the things you're thanking him for were not there. Let your passion be intensified by the consideration of how much pain it would be if the things you're thanking him for were not there. Let that be the thing that is you're mindful of when you're thanking God. That your thanks will become deeper, that you would enter into his presence, because that's why the Bible says a broken spirit he will not despise. Anytime you bring a broken spirit and a contrite heart, oh, you will enter the presence of God very quickly. And then you can hear God's voice very quickly. When you begin, thanksgiving is a warfare strategy that breaks the power of darkness. It breaks the power of insensitivity to the spirit and brings a sensitivity to the spirit. So I want to encourage you to think about these things. Think deeply about these things. Begin to transit the presence of God every morning. Thanksgiving. Thank him. Ruminate. Don't just thank him. Think. Don't just think about what you're thanking him for. Then begin to discover who is he based on this, and ruminate on his faithfulness. You will have faith for the day. Your peace will be unshaken because you have discovered an element of the unshakable, unchanging God. And that knowledge of his character can sustain you. I pray this blessed you. If you found it helpful, this is just some of the basic things that I share with our students in the School of Ascension. And we're resuming our classes this upcoming August, a couple more days. I want to encourage you to go to drtobyalcare.com to register if you want to grow in the place of discipleship. Our focus is training you how to grow in the place of prayer, maximize your potential as a disciple of Christ, walk in the power of God, and to really fulfill God's purpose for your life. So I want to encourage you, begin to apply this right now. Start applying this to your life. Slow down, conquer idolatry, conquer the statements and the strongholds that keep you in bondage to living your life at the pace, at the demands of life, not the commands of God. And I pray you're encouraged. If you want to learn more about the School of Ascension, go to the link in the description. That's drtobyalcare.com. God bless you guys, and I'll see you guys later.